Welcome to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. Now, here's your host, the Image Master, Hollly Porter.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. I'm Hollly, and today I have one of my friends named Rhonda Cimorelli. How are you?
Good, Hollly. How you doing?
Awesome. So I'm happy that you're joining us today. And she is also one of the authors of the 40-40 Rules, Wisdom from 40 Women Over 40.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I'm happy that you're in our book. She has a lot of wisdom. So we're going to find that out today. Let me just share a couple things about Rhonda. So Rhonda she is a coach, and she mostly works with mompreneurs. And she had, she'll tell us a little bit more, I'm sure, about her story. But, she was really successful, the top 2% in Mary Kay for a lot of years. And so that was, one thing where she got to work with a lot of people, and she's really good with people. Her and I have worked together, and we've known each other not too long. We were introduced by a mutual friend, and we've just kind of hit it off, and we've done some work back and forth, and we've just had a lot of fun. So I know she coaches, and she speaks, and she trains, and all kinds of fun stuff. So Rhonda, how are you? Welcome.
I'm doing great, Hollly. Thank you for that introduction. As you said, I was in the top 2% of Mary Kay. It did take a little while to get there with some focus and determination. Just want to tell everybody really quick, I don't really care what business that you're in or what you do. It's all about finding a love and a passion for who you are and who you want to help.
Oh, perfect.
And I was able to take that business about meeting people. And what I love most about that, I got to tell you, is somebody like yourself sitting down and seeing this beautiful face in front of me and having somebody say, oh my gosh, my face looks this way, or my face looks that way. And we were done. And I would have somebody hold a mirror up in front of them and just be in awe about how beautiful she really is. So it's really about making that difference kind of from the outside in. So that was a really good feeling. Then I grew the business, grew my team, started teaching the business skills to women and how to communicate, how to run a business. So that was that was a long part of my life, about 25 years of that. And, it's a long time. Something else that I don't know if you know also is during that time frame, I actually was a certified fitness instructor for a while.
I think I didn't know that, but you're so fit, I could tell.
Well, there's a difference between being fit and thin. Everybody goes, oh, she's so thin, she must be in shape. And it's like, no, that's not so true. So if you are listening.
The thinnest people I know are the most unhealthy.
Well, I went to the fitness gym when my kids were young. And I remember being I was out of shape. I had been in a really bad car wreck. And, I was just really not in good shape at all. Had poor cardiovascular. And I remember walking in, and she set me up with the bicycles, and then we went to the treadmill, and then I was starting to see results. And she says, oh, if you want to do more, here's the classes. And I was like, I don't want to be in no class. No way. And she says, well, if you want to, keep building and progressing, you really want to do this. And I said, okay. So I started out in the back of the class, and then I went to the middle of the class, and then I was in the front of the class. And then about that time, my youngest daughter was going into school all day, and they put a help wanted sign up. And I was like, cool, I'll get paid for working out. And I did that for about 5 years. And that was, that really lasted me a long time. So what you see is remnants of that.
Well, you know what? Muscle has memory too. And I was a gymnast. And so I always keep thinking, where are those stomach muscles that I had back then, whatever. Age takes its course, right? And gravity definitely kicks in.
Oh, age and gravity. Well, it's, I think what I learned most about those two segments of my life is really about that self-care. I know you and I have talked a lot about self-care, how important it is, and to know that, if you don't take care of yourself, who is? And that kind of leads me up to where I am now as a coach. I am a transformational life coach for business women. As you said, mompreneurs are my niche that I primarily work with. And the reason I chose that niche is simply from my background. I've been a mom. I've worked from home. I've raised 4 children. And I think there's really not too much that you can say that you are experiencing that I can't say, been there, done that. I empathize with you.
And when you were talking even about the fitness, that's what came to my mind, is just that I love when people are an expert and they focus on what they know. They don't go learn something new to teach people, but they really don't know.
Right.
You only know what you know. So if you know what you're teaching, to me, doesn't that come across way, way stronger?
Yeah, it's much more authentic that way.
Yeah.
I caught on pretty quick to the fitness stuff. Again, not because I learned and took a lot of schooling, but because I went through the ranks. I went through, bicycling, walking, back of the class, middle of the class. Now I've watched, and it doesn't hurt to have a good sense of rhythm.
Hey, I'd say it doesn't hurt to have a sense of humor either. There's some funny moves going on in there.
Oh, well, that's funny that you say that, because the sense of humor is key. I remember goofing up in the beginning. I can remember being scared to death teaching my first classes, like, oh my gosh, and they're only women. Again, I've only been in a women's setting. I guess I don't really like to work around men. I don't know. But I've always worked around.
I resonated with men better. I don't know why, but I always had guy friends, and yeah, anyway, my kids, I did better with the boys than the girls.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, my boys I got along with a lot differently than I did my girls. But what happened was, as a director in the company I was in, one of the things that I wanted to know more about was I wanted to have more tools and capability of working with women to understand those obstacles, because inevitably I'd have women come to me and say, oh, I want to do this, or I want to do that, or I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And they were beautiful goals, and they were perfectly capable of making them, but they would inevitably not do it. And I didn't feel like I was equipped with the knowledge of those powerful questions of how to ask people what's going on.
Yeah.
So I actually enrolled myself into a certified coaching program. And when I made the discovery that this is what was missing from that personal piece for me and working with people at a much deeper level, I made a really tough decision, and I resigned from that business to pursue a coaching career.
Right.
And now my passion is truly to inspire and empower women, working women, to create a life of their dreams and go live it without the guilt and without the regrets.
Oh, I love that. And I love the birds behind you as you're saying that. I'm seeing like this angelic glow around you.
You know what? The birds here are the loudest little things I've ever heard, and they're about this big.
Oh, I love birds. Birds are so calming. Well, some are annoying.
Well, thanks. And you know what? I apologize, but I'm not. I love the birds, and this is my favorite place to sit when I do my work. So if it does get bad, let me know, and I would be happy to adjust.
No, I love it. I love it.
Good. Good.
It's different, So who's your favorite? Like, what's your favorite stuff to do with your clients? Like, what's just get you up and excited every day about it?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I actually, before this interview today, I had a coaching client, and today was one of those days that made me so grateful for what I'm doing. My client says to me, "You are really making an impact." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she says, "I just want to tell you." And she told me about a scenario of her trying to reach out to a potential customer. And she started talking to her the way that we have our coaching sessions, in the sense of going deep and hand over your heart. I want you to imagine this and feel this and make decisions based on who you are, not other people. And she says, "I don't know." She goes, "It just felt right. And I want you to know you're making a difference."
Oh.
So those kind of things are very empowering for me. Yes. And to hear a woman, a mom, who's in a business, who's been struggling to either grow her business or have the balance with her children, have the communication with her spouse, for her to go through some of my courses and talk to me in 4 to 6 months and say, you know what, I love my life now because everything is working. I'm happy and joyful in so many different arenas than what I was before.
Well, and I think as coaches, we need to hear that feedback because, you know, we wake up some days and you're like, am I really serving these people to my best ability, or are they really getting anything out of this? And so when you get that feedback, makes your heart happy.
It does. And you know what? I make it a point with every client that I work with at the end of every session. I want to know, what value did you get out of this? Because if you are, if you're working with me and you can tell me week after week that you're taking something positive away from this conversation, that's all that really matters. But if you tell me, oh, well, I'm like, okay, something's got to change.
Yeah.
And
check in, you know, check in.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing to do with your family too.
Yeah, you think?
You know, with the kids coming home.
They'll tell you everything that you really don't want to know.
Well, that usually happens later in life.
It's like, oh, I know, right? Yeah. Oh.
It's, you know, when they're after their 20s and they've left home and then they go, oh yeah, Mom, by the way, remember whenever you went out of town or you did this or I did that? And you're like, oh, I don't want to know.
Well, and you have both worlds because like my kids are all grown, even though we had a lot of them. You know, you have grown children and you still have a daughter. And she's how old?
She's 11. So yeah, I have an 11-year-old, I have a 26, 28, and 30-year-old, and I have 2 grandkids that are 2 and 3.5. So I have spectrum all over the place.
Been there, done that. Yeah.
You know, it's kind of funny. I actually, I'm involved with a new networking group, and they asked me to be a co-organizer. And what I thought was really kind of cute were they had kids that were between like 7 and 12. And, you know, they're a little younger, obviously. And I said, yeah, I can totally relate because, you know, mine's right there at 11. And then somebody else came into the room as a volunteer and she goes, oh, my kids are older and they're all grown. I said, check, I can relate to that one too. So we had a good conversation, and then somebody else, and I said, yeah, I love it because I can relate to all of you now.
Right, I know. It's like when people say, well, what do you specialize in? I'm like, life, craziness, anything that's serial entrepreneurship. You name it, I got it covered.
I will agree with you on that one for you, serial entrepreneurship. But that's a fun thing to do.
You know, I know, but the difference is what makes you happy. Because I had a broker, because you know, when I first started in real estate, and he said to me, you would be my top agent if you would just do real estate. Because at the time I owned like 3 different companies and I was still doing real estate like 30 hours a week. So I just said to him, yes, maybe. And it was a compliment, by the way, because he had the top national agents in his office. So it was a compliment that he would say that to me because he's basically saying I would surpass them. And I just said, but I wouldn't wake up every morning happy.
Mm.
And I saw him just about 2 weeks ago. He's retired now and he has dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff, but he still recognized me and he still said, are you still doing 100 things? It was interesting that what he remembered about me was busy, you know? And I thought, you know, when people say, oh, you're too busy for that. Well, do you want a busy person helping you? Or do you want someone who you have no idea what they're doing with their time?
That's right. You know, that's what they say. If you want a job done, go ask a busy person.
Yeah. And is that not true? Like, it really is true.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Time is relevant. It's what we do with it.
Yeah. And okay. But a smart business person, by the way, would know how to say no.
Yes, absolutely. Well, you know what? That's what I coach on too. It's the power of no.
Right. You do. Yeah.
Right. It's like, what's going on and what do you need to leave behind?
Yes.
You know, there's so many different concepts and skills that we have to, as humans, we have to really work on and grow. And like one of the things I really recognized was, we'll call it, oh gosh, I hate when my brain does this. Like follow the leader. Okay. You know, kids follow the crowd. Okay. Did you know adults do that too?
Oh yeah. Well, it's a learned behavior we had as children.
And, you know, I talk to women, adult women who are in business, and I go, I'm not understanding. Can you tell me, like, why are you doing this? And you know what they tell me? Well, so-and-so did it, and so-and-so did it, and so-and-so did it, and so-and-so does it. I go, is that working for you? No. I go, hello?
Well, that's because things are changing. I've had this conversation on a couple other podcasts, how everybody just copies everybody else. Like, where's the authenticity as far as new concepts? Like, people get ideas, people get downloads, and then they copy everybody else. And like, I'm going to totally put you on the spot, by the way. You ready? What would you say that if you could think of something just off the top of your head, doesn't matter what it sounds like, what is the biggest thing you feel like you could offer your clients that maybe not everyone does? Like, what's different about you?
Ooh, that's a good question. What really comes to mind when you ask me that question is I feel as though I am uniquely gifted to connect with people at a very deep and personal level. And because of that, it allows me to have an ability to have a conversation that's very deep with someone.
Yes.
To find out really what's going on, not just surface stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's just that the gift of just being able to really connect with people personally and authentically, and allowing them to be who they are, meeting them where they are today, and teaching them really mostly about themselves.
Yeah, that's true. Well, okay, so I lost my train of thought now. I was going to ask you something about that. Okay. It was on the rounds of, so I believe that about you because I've, had lots of conversations with you, and I like that you're willing to dig deep, number one, and that you can, because there are so many coaches that just do surface work,
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, for somebody that's going to look at hiring a coach, like even our book has several coaches in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all about competition. Like, I think I don't look at it as competition. I look at that if we're doing the same thing, we're still different people. We still have different experiences, opinions. We've all been trained by different people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, someone's going to resonate with you that wouldn't me, with me that wouldn't you.
Right.
And so the point is, a lot of people just like, well, why do I need a coach? I mean, you hear that all the time. Well, my best friend can coach me. Well, maybe. And I hear people tell me, oh, I could coach you better than what you're paying. Really? Do you have those skills? Because I paid a lot of money to get those skills. And they are skills. They're tools that we have in our toolbox.
Yep.
That don't necessarily come natural to everybody. And so when people are thinking about hiring a coach, like, what do you need? That's a lot of people, they don't know what they need. Like, I've hired coaches, and I will be grateful to say every coach I've ever had, I've outgrown. What a good problem to have,
Yeah.
Where I didn't need them anymore because I felt like I had learned what I needed to learn from them. They were awesome. And I moved on, and so I think it's those little baby steps of figuring that out. And you are really good at that. So that was a really good answer to my put you on the spot question.
Well, thanks, Hollly.
I don't always do that to people, but I was like, yeah, she can handle it. So I like it. And digging is important. So, okay, so wrapping things up, what would you like the listeners to know? Something maybe we haven't brought up that just words of wisdom, something you want to share, and then I'll have you give your contact information.
Well, there's a couple of little quotes that I've learned over the last few years, and one of them made me think of it, what you said. You only know what you know.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is true. We only know what we know. And that knowledge is going to get you what you have. So if you want to have something that you've never had before, you must be willing to do something you've never done before.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's true for every arena in life. So if you don't have the relationship that you really want, you have to do and think and behave differently than you have in the past, or else you're going to get the same thing. It's true in business. It's true in your health. So that's really one thing that a coach is going to bring, a really good coach can bring to you, is that wisdom to say you only know what you know. And it's not to make you feel bad, but it's to allow you to empower yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're not empowered and personally grow, you're going to stay the same.
Absolutely.
You know, and the other thing that really hit, there's two other things. How you do anything is how you do everything. And as I was beginning my transformation several years ago, I was not in a great place. I had gone through a lot of personal life challenges. And one of the courses I took from T. Harv Eker, I will never forget this. He says, when you are complaining, you are a living, breathing crap magnet. I was like, whoa, that's very unattractive, and I prefer not to wear that all day.
Wash that off.
And I remember putting that up on a sticky note because I was at that point in my life, you know, that negativity, unhappy, things weren't going right. Yeah. And that's what I was focusing on. And I just put sticky notes all over the place. And I made that decision right there. I was like, I don't want to be a crap magnet anymore.
Well, we're our worst enemy or our best cheerleader.
Right.
And it's all within us. So you choose, right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Okay. Well, so if somebody wants to go further, we will have links that they can get to. But if they don't see that, how would they get a hold of you? What's the best way?
Well, I like for people to think it's all about balancing your life, right? Yeah. So how easy? balancedlifeforyou.com.
Perfect. I love that. That was a lot of words of wisdom, and you'll be having those in our book as well. And I'm excited that you got to join us today. So
thanks, Hollly,
so much for coming on, and we will see you soon.
Perfect. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Inspiration for an Empowered Life podcast, sponsored by the Image Designers. They will help you look prosperous, feel prosperous, and be prosperous. You can learn more about them at theimagedesigners.com or email Hollly at hollyporter.com.